1. I work in manufacturing and have for more than a decade. Repetitive stress injuries are really common due to the repetitive work. Shoulder and wrist are most commonly affected areas, but risk can be reduced with economic tools which my company is refusing to buy. I work with trigger action drills a lot. These are really bad for your wrists and shoulders. We've complained, but more ergonomic tools are slower and we must not affect production. There are areas in my work we don't work with them often. Good area. So we take turns in the bad area. One of my co-workers has been placed on restricted duty, so he gets to skip his turn. A couple of weeks ago, my co-worker was out due to their injury, so I was placed in the bad area for an extended amount of time, taking his turn and mine. After a couple of days, my bad wrist started bothering me. At previous employers, you'd complain to your direct supervisor, they'd send you to the nurse on site. The nurse would restrict you to work that would not bother the injury. You'd rest and ice it in your off time and be back to full duty in a couple of days. This is not what my current employer wanted to do. Instead, I reported it to my direct supervisor. I think he thought I was lying because no one wants to work in the bad area. He said, "If it hurts that bad, you'll need to file an accident report." I said, "But there's no accident to report, it's just a strain injury." He rebutted with, "We cannot make exceptions without documentation." Alright, we filled out an accident report. Put me on light duty, extra light duty. It was fine, boring, and I was not to use my dominant hand at all. Saw the nurse the next day. Nurse basically tells me what I already know. It's a stress injury. There's nothing to do but take a Tylenol and ice it. She has me stay on light duty until I get a doctor's note to confirm her speculation. Basically, I need a doctor's note to say I'm fine. Because after a couple of days of light duty and not using it at all, the pain and swelling had gone away. I felt like this all could have been avoided if my boss would have given me a little compassion and benefit of the doubt. I don't complain usually. I kind of like the bad area, pacing is good, the work is less tedious, but the physical strain gets to everyone. And now I have to pay for an urgent care visit. Cool. So I go to urgent care and I wait 2 hours to see this poor RN, who has been pulled in on back to the clinic after a 14-hour shift due to an abundance of patients and poor scheduling. So he can write me a note that says, "Lol Gob says nothing wrong with them." I told him I thought it was stupid and a waste of his time and mine. He agreed. He wrote the note, and when it was given to me it said, "Lol Gobs is fine to be on regular duty, but cannot use trigger action drills more than 8 hours a week." Wait, what? I can't work a little more than 1 shift in the bad area a week from now on. The visit summary paperwork included a small note from the RN. If pain or swelling returns, reduction of this type of work may be needed. If you have any concerns, I can be reached at, and they gave a phone number. My time is yours. Scheduling around my coworker's injury and my doctor's note has been tricky. My boss complains about it, but he literally made me do it. 2. So this just happened a week or so ago, and it's a little bit of a complicated backstory, so bear with me for a minute. I recently moved into a new apartment, and the old tenant was doing some shady and illegal stuff. Illegal sublet, a whole other story about which doesn't fit here, so I won't go into much detail. But a family friend was renting their apartment from them while they lived down the hall in another apartment. So when the illegal sublet was evicted, they were still renting and were now my neighbor. So the sublet had the key to the mailbox, and when I went down to get the key from them, they told me they had made a copy of the key and would like to still keep using my mailbox for a little bit, since their family friend was still receiving mail to my apartment. Yes, I know, but at that point I couldn't do much, and as a new renter and neighbor, I was trying to be friendly. So I agreed and just asked that they leave any mail that was mine for me in my mailbox, and once their family friend had sorted the mail to return the key. All in all, seemed like a nice enough person. Fast forward a couple of months, and I receive a text message from my landlord, saying that she had received a text from her previous tenant, my neighbor the sublet, complaining that my mail was in her mailbox and wasn't being removed, and to fix the issue. including a picture of said mail. My landlord asked me to resolve this mail issue, and I responded very confused because 1. The picture they sent to my landlord was mail I know for a fact was in my mailbox, because I recognized the name, wasn't my mail to begin with, and I had been leaving it in my mailbox assuming it was for her family friend. 2. I knew it was in mine because it was addressed to my apartment as well. I was just dumbfounded that they would complain to my landlord when I was the one doing them a favor in the first place. Like it's not their mailbox, it's mine. And why your family friend is still getting mail delivered here after more than a year. I've been here for about 7 months, plus the time it took for inspections and renovations after the eviction is beyond me. Now I was also doubly pissed because they have my number, they live down the hall from me. Why wouldn't you do the neighborly thing and reach out to me first before going over my head and to my landlord? So here's my petty revenge. Along with her family friends still getting mail sent to my mailbox, she was getting mail delivered there too. She had lived there before. I don't know why she never updated her mail to her new apartment. A couple of doors down. So I put a hold on all mail coming into my mailbox. I checked with the UPS, and when a hold request is put in place, it's not just for yourself or your significant other. It's for any mail addressed to that address requesting the hold. Oh, and the hold I requested was for 30 days. Any longer and you'll have to fill out some special request forms or something. I don't say a word of this to the neighbor. What I've done is perfectly legal, and since she wasn't being neighborly to me, why should I return the favor? Now, I don't really care since I never get anything important in the mail anyway. I have everything come through electronically, and tax season won't be for another couple of months. Those do come in the mail for me. I also requested that after the hold period is up, that I go collect all the mail in person at my local USPS, so I walk in, collect all my mail addressed to me, and everything else I write return to sender and drop off in the outgoing mailbox. I haven't heard from my neighbor at all, but I can only smile when I think of them repeatedly checking the mailbox, only to find it empty again and again. 3. It's been many years, but reading revenge stories recently made me think of the time when I was my most petty. My first roomie in college. We were matched by the university, a fact that's left me wondering how their matchmaking process worked. We chatted a few times before college started, and I made a huge mistake during one of those phone calls. When asked if I partied, I said, "Not a big drinker, but I don't judge." Because that was, in fact, the truth. College roomie decided then and there I was awful, boring, and she hated me. I had no clue until a few weeks into our roommate adventure. It started small, and things started to deteriorate about a month in. She was constantly using my shit, bringing random dudes into the room, being disrespectful at every twist and turn. I had really reached my breaking point. So my first petty revenge, letting her boyfriend know how chlamydia actually works. A fun fact about college roomie was she had a boyfriend who was still in high school back home. College roomie was committed to this relationship, and also excited to explore new ones. I didn't care, not my business, but then came the chlamydia calls. College roomie had gotten her first STI and had to let boyfriend know, since they had seen each other since. She went on and on about how it's going around the dorm and everyone was catching it because they don't clean the toilet seats enough. And this brilliantly stupid man just accepted this as a fact and kept it moving. After a particularly rough fight with her, I snuck her boyfriend's number from her phone and had a mutual friend start texting him links to chlamydia info. Most important, websites that really emphasize the only way you can catch this STI is sex, and in fact toilet seats could never. The fight they had was spectacular. I was so fortunate it happened when I was in the room. They fought for hours. She was unable to convince him of her innocence. They actually worked it out, then broke up months later after another act of petty revenge took shape. He was such a glorious idiot. Next up, the AIM catfish. College roomie was deeply invested in using my laptop, despite having her own computer. I would come back to the room often and find my laptop moved or see her username on AIM when I'd go to log in. I was broke as a joke, and I knew if she fucked up my laptop I'd be super boned, so it was a big issue for me. We fought for months about it. It didn't matter, she kept using it, so PettyRevenge it was. I lucked out one day, as she had yet again forgotten to log out of her AIM account. Does this post age me? I got to work, and posing as college roomie, started sending messages to all her contacts. To her boyfriend, I admitted to cheating and told him I was just too committed to slutting it up to commit, and I'd probably be better off single. And he broke up with her via IM. To her friends, I started checking in, poking for info, and trying to figure out how to do maximum damage. One friend did the work for me and replied with, "Are you still going to our friend party, and if so, are you still down to go half in on the gift?" By the end of this convo, college roomie had offered to be designated driver, drive everyone to the party, buy the entire gift, and stay the night to handle cleanup the next day. Then we waited for the blowback. The first phone call she had with her boyfriend after that was hilarious. She had no idea she'd been dumped. The birthday blow-up was a slow burn, but such a good one. Weeks later, I walked by her downstairs crying to one of the RAs about how she had been hacked, and the hacker had absolutely ruined the plan she had for a friend's birthday, and now all her friends were mad at her. She flunked out of college after the first semester. I ended up with an even worse roomie, who at least was awful in very different ways, and my days of petty roomie revenge are long behind me. 4. When I was around 10, my mom was in a local moms group, and they would meet up at the park during summer to talk while all of us kids played. It was a relatively large group, and like all large groups of children around various ages, there were a few bullies. I was a super annoying dorky kid, had way too much confidence for my own good. So I probably did something to annoy this older boy around 12 enough to pick on me. At first, he would just poke at how short I was in passing, which didn't bother me that much. Then it changed to calling me fat and short. I minded the fat part a little more, but my friends advised me to just ignore the boy, especially because he was much bigger than us and had a group of friends who were also mean, so for a while, I just shook off the jabs. Then it happened. The boy did something 10-year-old me considered unforgivable. One day, we were all playing Red Rover, Red Rover, Red Rover, let OP come over. The children on the opposite side called, yet when my name was called out, another name was shouted louder by my bully. "Piggy, come over!" I felt the flush of embarrassment and anger in my cheeks as I jogged over to the other side, but I tried to hold my head up. That was until I heard the boy and his friends oinking like pigs in my direction. I felt tears threaten to brim in my eyes and anger kindle in my heart. And right then and there, as the rest of the kids were yelling Red Rover, I came up with my plan. I knew there was no point confronting the boy. It would only make things worse. But I glanced over to a few yards away, where his mom was chatting with some of the other moms. My bully's mom was a kind lady, but she was very strict with her children, according to my mom, who was friends with her, and I knew her son would never act up in front of her and live to tell the tale. His mom was also very short and plump. For a few weeks I waited and watched, and finally my chance came. We were at the pool for the birthday party of one of the kids, and I looked up to see my bully's mom headed toward the bathroom. I followed her and waited by the sinks. I stared down at my hands and thought of my favorite cat dying, until I felt tears begin to roll down my cheeks. A stall door swung open, and I heard footsteps and the sound of water running, but I kept my head down. "Hey, are you okay, dear?" I looked up at my bully's mom and sniffed. "No, this boy keeps calling me fat and short, and he makes pig noises when I walk by him." The bully's mom was sympathetic, telling me it was very mean of anyone to behave that way, and that she used to get bullied too. Then the moment I was hoping for came. "Who is the boy that is bullying you?" she asked. I said I would show her. and the amount of satisfaction I felt when I pointed to her son was enormous. Her face fell, and then her expression darkened. "I will take care of this, don't worry." She walked away from me, back to the pavilion the moms were sitting under, and then I heard her call out his name. I did not get to hear what she said to him, but my friend who was reapplying sunscreen told me it was a long scolding, but how she had heard he was bullying kids, and how she had thought she taught him better. Then, how disappointed she was that he would fat-shame anyone when he knows some people have no control. My bully sat out the rest of our time there, and did not come to the next playdate. He never bothered me again. 5. First, some background. My wife and I have used the same bank for years, and they have a majority of our accounts. All our children have graduated from college, so we decided to go back to college, and my company offered to pay for my master's degree. I used the college's payment plan for the first couple of months of the semester, since my company pays in arrears for the classes, and they, depending on how paydays fall, can be a little slow to pay. One of the payments I had to make, I had transposed 2 digits on the account information when I entered the payment information. I always use an electronic check to pay so I can avoid the extra fees they tack on when using a credit or debit card. Since the payment was returned as invalid, I now have a hold on my account, and I have to pay with either a credit card or cashier's check. Not a big deal since my company has sent the payment from the previous semester. Put the semester on my credit card and then paid off the credit card. I called the business office and asked what could be done to have the hold removed from my account, and they told me there was nothing that could be done to have the hold removed. From this point forward, I would have to pay with either a credit card or cashier's check. After arguing with them a little bit, they were steadfast in their position. I called my bank, and they did the typical, "Since you've been such a great customer, blah blah blah, you have 5 free cashier's checks per month." And whenever the bank sends a cashier's check to a college, we do not accept the signature from the mailroom. An individual must sign for it. Cue malicious compliance. I called the university back and asked to speak with the same person I was speaking to. When I had them on the phone, the conversation went something like this. "Hey, SOP, how are you doing?" "Fine, how are you?" "Great. Question about the payment plan. I just have to make the minimum payment by the date it is due, correct? It does not matter how many checks I send, correct?" "You have to send cashier's checks, but that is correct." "Right, cashier's check. My bank gives me 5 free cashier's checks a month, and someone must sign for each of them, so I will be sending 4 for each monthly payment. Should I have them sent directly to you?" "This would be much easier if you just paid with a credit card." "It would be easier for you. I want you to think about this. I have 3 semesters of school left, and I have to take 2 summer classes. That means your office is going to receive approximately 72 cashier's checks they have to sign for and manually process." Silence from the other end. Since the checks have to be sent to a specific person, who should I have the checks sent to? More silence. Since you do not have an answer for me right now, I will call back when the next semester starts and get that name from you. Thank you for your help, and I look forward to talking with you at the start of the next semester. When I logged in at the start of the next semester, the hold on my account was removed. When I called the business office, they stated that they had reviewed my account and determined it was an honest mistake and I should not be penalized. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Revenge's Ice Cream, episode 206. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do share the video around with friends and family. If you enjoyed the video, then please do hit the like button. I greatly appreciate it. If you didn't enjoy the video, then please do hit the like button. I hate it when you do that. Alrighty, let's see. Let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is: when communicating with people on the internet, which emoji do you find you use the most often out of all the ones available? I personally, and I hope this doesn't sound condescending, I use one that I made myself for the Hellfreezer Discord server, and it says pats with like a gradient effect on it, and there's somebody patting a cute little doggy on the head. The one I use second most is a Milk Mocha Bear hug emoji. For reasons. But which are yours? Which do you use the most often? Please leave your answers in a comment below. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. Lots of work to do this week. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.